Welcome. You're watching News Central TV. It's time for News Now. I am Judith, Atibi. The top stories at this hour. Federal High Court grants end bad governance protesters bail. Gombe varsity lecturers embark on indefinite strike over unmet demands. Airport workers in Kenya down tools over new deal. Details shortly. And let's begin by telling you that a federal high court sitting in Abuja has granted 10 million naira bail on each to the 10 members of the hashtag End Bad Governance protesters who were charged with attempt to overthrow President Bola Tinubu between August 1st and 4th this year. While delivering ruling in their bail applications, Justice Emeka Nwite said the protesters must produce sureties who must be property owners in Abuja and must deposit documents of the properties to the court in addition to swearing to affidavit of means. The court equally ordered the defendants to produce one surety each who are based in Abuja and must be willing to deposit their international passports and 3 recent passport photographs with the court. Move away from that now, and this time is to politics, where Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, and that's Gabriel Denwa, has sworn in the remaining members select of the Assembly. The Speaker urged the new members to be law-abiding and engage in some acts, only acts, that will move Plateau State to greater heights. According to News Central's Chizoba Aniowe, the new members include Mark Sunday, representing Jos Northwest constituency, Yakubu Sanda Pangana Kambana constituency, and Tachang Moses from the Riyom constituency. Others are Theodore Mayaka San and Owen Dagogot, representing Kwayan Pan South and Kwayan Pan North constituencies, respectively. Now, details of this be brought to you in our subsequent bulletins. And now to Edo State, where the Court of Appeal in Abuja has upheld Olumide Akpata as the governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Ondo State. In June, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, dismissed a suit seeking to void the nomination of Akpata as the Labour Party candidate in the September 21st election. In the judgment, Justice Omotosho upheld the arguments by Akpata's lawyer, Johnson Usman, that the plaintiffs were without the legal right to institute the suit. To this end, the court held that his case was premature in law and could not be entertained on the ground that conditions precedents were not met. And still ahead of the Edo State elections, Governor Godwin Obaseki has expressed serious concerns over the continuous harassment and arrest of People's Democratic Party chieftains in Edo State ahead of the upcoming gubernatorial election of September 21st. Obaseki cautioned that the police unchecked actions could potentially lead to a statewide crisis, which could have far-reaching and destabilizing effects on the country. Speaking to protesters at the government house in Benin City, who gathered to voice their displeasure over the police's actions, Obaseki stated that a local government chairman was also arrested in connivance with the opposition party in the state to intimidate members of the PDP. Obaseki revealed that he has contacted the Inspector General of Police for urgent intervention. And joining us now to discuss this is Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Well, Elvis, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I have to ask your thought on the allegations by Governor Obaseki that the police are harassing members of the ruling party in Edo State.
I got a wind of that too, but for me, it's if really we are practicing true democracy, I think the police shouldn't be biased, and it shouldn't be used as political tools to witch hunt other people. Because lately, if you agree with me, the kind of things that the information that are coming out, actions that are going on across board in Nigeria, they are not inspiring. I only want to mention that are we practicing true democracy? Because in a democratic settings, power belongs to the people and not a few persons. let's not forget, I don't mean to digress, that at the moment, we're still battling with the Nigerian Labour Congress president, who seems to be arrested. I don't know if he's been released, but going back to the elections, the police have no right to arrest anybody that has not committed crime. It's this is a political period for the people of Edo State. Let them play the politics, devoid of clashes and bias from the police force.
I'm so glad you used the term bias, because I have to ask, are there any recent amendments or reforms in Nigerian election laws that relate to the conduct of police officers and their interaction with political parties?
I've not heard of any, but I think what we should work towards is strengthening our police institution. There should be reforms on how the Inspector General of Police is being selected, because if we really want to tell ourselves the truth, because oftentimes we talk about, we just read the Constitution and we tell ourselves the truth. Whoever nominates you for an appointment, sometimes you tend to tilt towards what that person wants, the interest of that person, whether it's good or bad. It takes few persons to just say, okay, let me put Nigeria interest first before the interest of whoever nominated me for this position. And I think at the moment, Nigerians are going through a lot. I really want to seize this opportunity to urge the Edo State people that this is a time for them to determine who will make or mar Edo State in the next 4 years.
And how might the allegations of police harassment affect the public perception of the electoral process and the legitimacy of the election results in Edo State?
I'll speak from my own perspective. I think a handful of Nigerians have given up on Nigeria. We've not built trust with institutions, even the electoral umpire. I can categorically say, for me as a person, I've not built trust with them. I don't know what they do. If they do, they build trust with them, because oftentimes their actions and inactions are portrayed as what's on the electoral act does not reflect what they do. The police oftentimes are some of them, they are not biased, but a handful of them too fit towards monetary politics and all that. That's why you see issues of intimidating opposition or maybe party members from different. But the thing is, the Edo State people need to know that incompetence dressed up as strategy is still incompetent and still totally unacceptable. They should check the track record. At the moment, we have three front liners: the PDP, the APC, and the Labour Party. The Edo people should go and check the track record of these persons. And it's not about, I will do this thing. What have you done before you will do this thing? Like, oftentimes during electioneering, you see people come out to promise, I will build this for you, I will build this for you, I will build this for you. And we've seen the brightest of hope bearers go to bed as soon as they clinch onto power. They should check the track record of those people aspiring for it. For me, I won't say I've studied a particular candidate very, very well. He has his track record shows that he has, he came in from the private sector and he has grown from nothing to something. So anybody that grows something from nothing to something can transform Edo State.
Well, Elvis, I must say thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us this afternoon. Elvis Akmobi there, he's the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. Once again, many thanks.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll switch gears now to Maiduguri to give you an update on the flood situation in Maiduguri, Borno State. The National Emergency Management Agency says Borno State government's effort to relocate displaced residents were ongoing. Now, this was revealed by the spokesperson Manzo Ezekiel, who added that 3 internally displaced people camps had been opened to accommodate those affected. Now, thousands have been displaced and 3 inmates recaptured after a jailbreak as Borno State faces its worst flood disaster in 30 years. The flood has submerged 70% of Maiduguri, including key locations like the Shehu of Borno's Palace, the State Secretariat, and the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital. President Bola Tinubu, currently abroad, has called for the immediate evacuation of residents from flood-affected areas. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, attributes the flooding to an overflow of the Alo Dam following heavy rains. Now, NEMA spokesperson Manzu Ezekiel stated that about 70% of Maiduguri is underwater, with quoting him here, saying, with many residents waking up trapped by rising waters, end quote. Now, emergency services are now focused on rescue operations and providing support. Away from that, the Nigerian government has dismissed claims that the arrest and questioning of Nigeria Labour Congress NLC President Joe Ajaore constitute human rights abuses. Presidential spokesman Bayo Onanuga stated that the accusations from the Trades Union Congress TUC UK are unfounded and misinterpret the situation. He emphasized that President Bola Tinubu, a pro-democracy activist, remains committed to protecting civil liberties. Onanuga urged the public to allow security agencies to conduct their work without interference, noting that Ajaoro's invitation by the Department of State Services is unrelated to his role at the NLC. The government also highlighted that while labor unions and the government may disagree, there is no adversarial relationship between them. You're watching news now on News Central TV. It's time for a break. When we return, we'll tell you more. And this time, Gombe Varsity ASUU embarks on indefinite strike. We'll tell you more about this after the break. Join us. And welcome back. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU Gombe State University branch, has declared a total and indefinite strike over a litany of unmet demands. Now, this is the first time the academic body in the university has taken an internal strike action since the institution was founded in 2003. The decision was taken after a Congress meeting held in this institution on Wednesday. They decried the challenges of their colleagues in urging the governing councils of the affected institutions to restate, promote, and pay withheld salaries. Away from that, and now to the scarcity of petrol. As the September 15, 2024 date approaches for the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to begin lifting petrol from Dangote refinery, investigations reveal no commercial agreement has been finalized. Despite NNPC Executive Vice President Adedayo Shegun's announcement on September 5th that the company would start lifting petrol on September 15th, sources from both NNPC and Dangote confirmed that key terms, including quantity and pricing, remain unresolved. Government sources and a senior Dangote refinery official revealed that no agreements or paperwork have been completed, raising doubts about whether NNPC will lift any petrol on the scheduled date. And now to security matters. Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff says that the Defense Headquarters has resolved to build the capacities of citizens in rural and far-to-reach communities on how to adequately defend themselves against bandits. The defense chief made this known in Abuja while giving a State of the Nation update on measures being put in place to tackle the myriad of insecurity challenges across the country. Amadin Uyi reports.
It was a briefing on the efforts being put in place by security agencies to tackle the rising insecurity in the country. In attendance were heads of security agencies with their representatives. The Chief of Defense Staff informed those present of the military's new operation in the northwest of the country, codenamed Operation Kasayama.
The intention is to ensure that we synergize all our efforts in addressing the security challenges in the northwest. It's been their tradition for the bandits to be able to flow between the states within them. So now what we're doing is that since we're harmonizing the whole operation, they will come under one commander. And then the commander will be able to utilize all the equipment and troops together to ensure that we address this critically. And I think that's the best solution we have for it. And I can assure you, all the assets that's required to do that will be done.
He says that the military has evolved a new strategy aimed at helping local communities respond swiftly to bandit attacks, one which solves the problem of first responders before troops arrive at the scene of attacks.
We're going to build the capacity of the locals to be able to defend themselves for a while before the military will come in. That we have adopted in the northeast. with the civilian JTF, with the hybrid forces, and it has worked. We're also trying to do the same thing. We're working with the state government. We're not working in isolation. We know the relevance of the communities. We know the relevance of the state governments. So we're working as a team to ensure that we address these issues together.
Also, the Chief of Training and Logistics of the Defense Headquarters informed those present that troops have concluded plans to stop the infiltration of bandits into the Kanji National Parks following intelligence reports.
We are also aware that there are intelligence reports on possible movement of terrorists and bandits towards Kanji National Park. That is being addressed. The Air Force is on top of it. There's increased ISRs, and troops are also being deployed to ensure that nobody gains foothold in the Kanji National Park. I can assure you that we are on top of this situation.
The Defense Headquarters also informed citizens of the Republic of Niger's willingness to re-establish its alliance with the multinational Joint Task Force, expected to help tackle terrorism in the Sahel. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Still on security matters, the Anambra State Police Command has said it is on the hunt for the killers of 4 men in the Agu Isionye community located on the boundaries of Enugu Ukwu and Nofia in Njikuka local government area of Anambra State. On Monday, the yet-to-be-identified assailants attacked the community, killing no fewer than 4 persons and injuring several others. The killings allegedly occurred when the assailants invited some indigents of the community to a piece of land, pretending to be interested in buying the said land. The armed men opened fire on them, killing 4 persons and instantly, while others while others escaped with injuries. The incident created panic in the community as people scampered to safety, causing injuries due to the gunshots fired by the armed men. It is reported that there has been recurring farmland disputes and issues bordering on land grabbing between the two communities over the years. Still on insecurity, hundreds of internally displaced persons from over 300 communities in Sokoto State have abandoned their villages to bandits and terrorists in the Isa and Sabunbrini local government areas of the state. The community members who are now displaced are currently taking refuge in government primary and secondary school buildings within the 2 local government areas of the state. News Center's Emmanuel Bugudu reports.
Frustration, hunger, and hopelessness are clearly visible on the faces of these internally displaced persons. Many of them recently displaced from hundreds of villages within the Sokoto East Senatorial District. Sabunbrini, though mourning the recent murder of its emir by these marauding bandits, has however become a home of the refuge for all.
ta share magobir hawayenta wagga masarauta ta gobir ta ƙara ɗaukaka ta ga idon duniya saboda yanzu gobir ta shiga cikin idon duniya.
Akwai wasu makwabta na nan yanayin ma samun ultala suka kama su kai mata walakanci jiya cikin dare suka shigo garin ga suna nan murar tarihi in ma kuna so da aka suna nan sun yi su 100 kullun cikin abin da ake kenan kullun yanzu haka akwai yaro guda da ta ji wallahi suna cin sun kame shi. Munan ne gwamnati ta ki kula da mu koyo su cikin bane kuma muna ji mai abu kuma yanzu ba ai ba don Allah muna son mu taimaka mana don Allah ta taimaka mana.
This is Abdul Ahmed Model Primary School here in Sabunbrini, the refuge home of internally displaced persons. Surrounding me here are a lot of internally displaced persons from different villages across Sabunbrini local government who were sent away by bandits, you know, to come here and take refuge. I'm one of the IDPs who's going to give us the story. Nanka dede? Yes, Nanka.
Sunana Ridwan.
Ridwan, ga mana me kake yana?
Zaman gudun hijira nake yi.
Me faru?
Bandit sun takura mana a ƙauyen mu. Ba mu da kwanciyar hankali, matayen mu da yaran mu da mazajen mu duk muna cikin wannan makaranta. Ko da an koma hutu a nan wurin ba za mu samu damar barin nan batun da idan mun bar nan babu inda za mu je.
Many of the IDPs have their own unique story of starvation, hunger and sickness.
Gabda da mana mun sassabe za mu shimka sun kace sun ba su naira 100 miliyan 250. Ba mu da su suka ba su mun kace ba mu da su suka zo suka mana farmaki sun haka shi mun mutum 7 to mu tashi hankali yayin mu na yawa mu haga zaman mu wurin nan akwai hadari shine mun ka taso mun ka dawo nan ne ko duk da haka nan ba su bar mu ba sai su tare hanya suna ɗaukan mutanen mu suna aza mana kuɗin fansa yau an waye gari ba mu fanso mutanen mu.
With women and children being the most affected in the crisis, the same is visible at the camp.
Abin da ka faruwa gashi kayan masa su hana mu je mu ɗauko ko da abinci ga yunwa ta dami mu ga yara ba lahiya mu ma ba lahiya duk zaman da muka yi walakance muke.
Barayi suka koro mu sun hana mu zama sun kashe mu maza sun kashe mu ɗaya sun hana mu zama kuma yunwa ta sha mana ka abin da za mu biɗa mu ci sun koro mu sun hana mu magidin shi.
While the situation is there and can be regarded as a humanitarian disaster, many here will be hoping that the government comes to their aid and as quick as possible. In Sabon Birni, Sokoto State, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
The National Oil Spillage Detection and Response Agency has reaffirmed its commitment to ensure the implementation of the federal government's directives regarding the personnel management system across the civil service of the Federation. The Chief Executive Officer of the agency made this known during a two-day workshop focused on the implementation of the performance management system. He says that the system is a mechanism that holds individual employees accountable, identifies and detects who, where and how faults in the delivery of service to the public occur in the civil service.
Other vital components of PMS include annual performance management timeline, performance management cycle, performance planning, performance review, and performance regards. Detailed provisions of these components are set in Rules 05031 to 050405. As a critical agency of the Federal Ministry of Environment, with a clear statutory mandate for the protection of our environment, all our staff must be ready and able to avail themselves of the value of the requirements of PMS as the framework for determining their competencies.
It's important that we key into this key deliverable performance management system. This is a pillar. PMS is a pillar of FC. In line with that, the head of service of the Federation has given that mandate for all ministries and agencies to implement it. And there's also an assessment along that.
And now to health matters. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention has confirmed 8 new cases of Mpox in the country, with fresh cases recorded in Gombe, Plateau and Akwa Ibom State. So far, 67 cases have been confirmed in 23 states and the FCT out of 1,031 suspected cases from 35 states and the FCT. Now, this was disclosed during a press briefing in Abuja organized by the Director General of NCDC, Judith Idris. On cholera, the agency said it has recorded 141 suspected cases and 1 death, with a case rate of 0.7% fatality in Katsina, Lagos, Kano, Jigawa and Adamawa State. So far, 216 deaths have been recorded from a total of 7,663 suspected cases in the country. Still on health, residents of Jos, the capital city of Plateau State, have decried the unaffordability and unavailability of drugs in the state and Nigeria in general. Drugs and other medical commodities had been affordable until recent times. News Central's Chizoba Aniowe in Jos, North Central Nigeria, tells us more.
Drugs and medical commodities are essential products that save lives, especially for people suffering from one illness or the other. Sadly, there has been a downturn in its availability, affordability, and efficacy in some cases, where some Nigerians find it very difficult to continue with the trend, noting the current economic hardship in the country.
There is this drug that I used to buy for my mother. We started with 3,000 naira. It got to 7,000 naira. As I speak to you, I buy it 14,500 naira.
Since transportation cost was touched by Tinubu, all the prices of things skyrocketed. Even food you can't buy. So now, genuine drugs are very difficult to come by. Even if you see it, the prices are very high.
The unveiling of the Plateau State Drugs and Medical Commodities Management Agency, also known as Farmer Grade Warehouse, may be the game changer, according to Governor Caleb Mutfwang.
These projects reflect our shared commitment to improving the quality of life for every Plateau citizen and our determination to overcome the health challenges we face daily. Our ultimate goal is to make Plateau State a destination for medical tourism, leveraging our ideal climate for healing.
Stakeholders are optimistic that the facility, together with the ambulance services, will achieve its objectives.
It is important to acknowledge the work that lies ahead. Sustainability is at the heart of these initiatives. This requires that the state makes annual budgetary provisions for the maintenance of the warehouse and also build the technical and managerial capacity of the warehouse personnel.
It also involves partnering with a very strong pharmaceutical sector in Nigeria to procure quality assured medicines at affordable prices.
They're dealing directly with manufacturers, and in dealing with manufacturers, of course, it reduces the costs going through third-party retailers and all that. So it's going to really change the landscape in terms of availability of drugs on the plateau.
We are not just opening doors, we are opening a new chapter in our commitment to the pharmaceutical world, to public health. Indeed, assuring citizens of Plateau State that the days of stockouts are...
Now, if the words of the government and of course the partners are anything to go by, then one would say that the cries of the masses concerning the unavailability of drugs and the high cost of these same drugs have come to an end. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. Coming up, airport workers in Kenya down tools over new deal. We'll bring you details after the break. Join us again. You're welcome back as we head to the east of the continent, where chaotic scenes unfolded at Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport overnight as staff went on strike over a proposed takeover by India's Adani Group. The strike, initiated by the Kenyan Aviation Workers Union at midnight, brought the airport to a standstill. The controversial plan to lease the airport to Adani for 30 years in exchange for a $1.85 billion investment has sparked public outrage, with critics warning of potential job losses and loss of future airport profits. Kenya's government defends the deal as necessary for upgrades, including a new runway and terminal improvements. Meanwhile, the Law Society of Kenya and the Kenyan Human Rights Commission secured a court delay, citing a lack of transparency in the agreement. And now to Central Africa, where a former health minister in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Dr. Oli Ilungan, has been released from prison after serving a 5-year sentence for embezzling Ebola funds, his lawyer confirmed on Tuesday. Ilugan, who served from 2016 to 2019, was convicted in 2020 of embezzling $400,000 intended for managing one of DRC's deadliest Ebola outbreaks, which claimed over 2,200 lives. He has always denied the charges, claiming his trial was flawed. The doctor was freed from Makala prison in Kinshasa, the country's largest and overcrowded facility, which recently experienced a deadly attempted jailbreak that left at least 129 people dead. Rights organizations have raised concerns over the conditions at Makala prison. And now, so we're still staying in Central Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo received 50,000 additional Mpox vaccine doses from the United States on Tuesday, joining 200,000 1,000 doses already donated by the European Union. The DRC remains at the epicenter of the current outbreak with over 21,500 cases and 700 deaths reported. U.S. Ambassador to the DRC, Lucy Tamlin, confirmed the arrival of the vaccines alongside 15,000 more doses from the Gavi Vaccine Alliance. On Sunday, another 100,000 EU-donated vaccines reached Kinshasa, bringing the total vaccines received to 265,000. The vaccines produced by Danish lab Bavarian Nordic are approved for adults in Europe and the US, with efforts underway to extend approval to children aged 12 to 17. You must have seen the scenes from last night. Your Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, squared off in a primetime debate that could alter the course of an unprecedented race for the White House. The two candidates quickly launched into a bitter, fast-moving, energized, and occasionally angry exchange. Now, there's more in this report. Take a look.
The United States presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump was fiery.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
This will be the first time both candidates are meeting head-on in this race.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
She's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it?
Some topical issues were touched, like the economy, gun control, immigration, and the war in Ukraine.
And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic.
With a barrage of problems the nation grapples with, the stage is set and motion in top gear for both candidates. Will Americans make history by voting its first female president, Kamala Harris, or re-elect the former President Donald Trump? The world is watching as this pendulum swings.
Well, only in November will tell. It's now been 23 years since terrorists struck at the World Trade Center in New York, bringing down the Twin Towers and killing thousands in the process. Similar attacks in other parts of the U.S. that same day on September 11th, 2001 also claimed many lives. In remembrance of the tragic incident, the U.S. is honoring the memories of those who lost their lives at what is today known as Ground Zero. Attending the event are family members of the victims of the attack, President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, former President Donald Trump, and many sympathizers.
Lake.
Franco Lalama.
Chow Kwan Lam.
Michael S. Lamama.
Stephen LaMancha.
Amy Hope Lanzoff.
Robert T. Lane.
Brendan Mark Lang.
Roseanne P. Lang.
Vanessa Lang Langer.
Mary Lou Langley.
Peter J. Langone.
Thomas Michael Langone.
Michelle Bernadette Lanza.
23 years on, and the world will not forget. For more on the U.S. election and 9/11, we're joined by our international correspondent, Hafia Egan. Hafia, just very sad scenes every single time we have to think about this, but let's start with the elections first. Everyone will want to know who won the debate between Trump and Harris.
And that is the big, big question. Look, the winner really is the person or the candidate who was believable to the viewers, who emerged with authority and who emerged with credibility. Now, a snap poll that was taken just after the debate ended said that 67% of those people in that poll, and they are registered voters as well, they said that Harris had the better night than Donald Trump. Now, it seems that Donald Trump was wrong-footed. He was perhaps on the attack. And Kamala Harris seemed to get under his skin, which meant you got this version of Donald Trump, which was angry and aggressive, instead of being quite good on immigration and economy, which are seen as his strong points. What his team wanted for him to stay on message. But instead, what they got was him repeating conspiracy theories about immigrants eating pets, something that has been widely debunked and is acknowledged that is not true. It's not something that's happening. We got a Kamala Harris who brought her prime prosecutor hat on in this debate. She was well prepared. She'd clearly been watching his tapes and knew how he debates in the past. And so it has emerged that she is the clear winner of this particular debate. Now, there could be a second debate. It's thought that the Democratic team are quite keen on having a second debate. Donald Trump, who was quite positive before, from what I'm hearing from the spin room last night, less positive about having a second debate at this stage.
Been following this, so I have to ask, what has been the reaction to this face-off between Harris and Trump?
Well, yeah, there's been a huge reaction, particularly in the court of social media, with lots of people sharing memes and of who they thought was the winner of this particular debate. The newspapers in America this morning, most of them declaring that Kamala Harris certainly had the better night than Donald Trump. And of course, she got that huge celebrity endorsement from Taylor Swift. She was quite clever, actually, in the post that she did online, and it was actually more about encouraging people to vote. She said that she will be voting for a Walz-Harris ticket, but encourage people to get out there and vote, and that they should do their research and vote for somebody that they believed in. So yeah, huge reaction. Bookmakers now saying that Kamala Harris is the favourite to win the presidency, as well as that snap poll that was taken as well, which 67% of those people in that poll who are registered voters thought Harris was the winner.
We're waiting for Taylor to show where her leanings would lie in terms of a candidate for the election, and seeing that she did this at this time is very, very strategic as well. But away from the election, today is the anniversary of 9/11, and I won't let you go without asking this question. How would this, be commemorated, by both campaigns?
Well, both campaigns have actually paused their adverts for this day from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. this evening. And this is something that's been asked of them by the 9/11 organization since 2004, that any campaigning at this time stops. Now, the Harris-Walz campaign, I know that they have agreed and they will not be running any ads at this time, any attack ads. And it's thought the Trump campaign hopefully will follow suit. Now, what's been happening over the course of the day is you're going to have separate moments of silence to commemorate when different planes hit different targets, whether the Twin Towers or targets on the ground as well. And what's currently happening, and we saw a clip of it earlier on, was the names of 3,000 people who were killed in 9/11 and at the bombing at the World Trade Center on Ground Zero in 1993. Their names are being read out by their relatives and friends at Ground Zero. That's been happening for a couple of hours and will go on for a long time, because 3,000 people is a lot of names. And both candidates are there in New York at the commemorations at Ground Zero. Those pictures of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump shaking hands, and they are there almost shoulder to shoulder to commemorate the 23rd anniversary of 9/11, and something that's seen as a unifying moment, hence the pausing of campaigning at this time.
Well, Afia, many thanks indeed. Our heart goes out to those who lost family and loved ones in that very tragic event. Once again, Afia, thank you. Afia Nagin there is our international correspondent giving us update on the debate from last night and also the 9/11 commemoration. And now on to business. In the second quarter of 2024, Nigeria's company income tax, CIT, surged to 151%, reaching 2.47 trillion naira, up from 984.61 billion naira in the first quarter, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. Now, this increase is attributed to the federal government enhanced tax collection efforts and changes in tax policies. Professor Uchenna Uzo noted that the increased tax revenues could support developmental projects positively impacting the economy, although firms may pass cost to consumers, potentially affecting inflation. Year-on-year, CIT rose by 59.4% compared to 1.55 trillion naira in Q2 of 2023. The top contributors to CIT included financial services, manufacturing, and information sectors. To further improve tax collection, the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee proposed a 5% reduction in the CIT rate to encourage investment and ease of doing business. The Nigerian Premier Football League (NPFL) has reminded clubs that all rights contracts must be vetted by the league before they can be executed. This reminder follows breaches of NPFL's marketing codes, such as unauthorized Man of the Match awards. Chief Operating Officer Davidson Owumi highlighted Rule A7.6 of the NPFL framework and rules, which requires that any contract a club enters into be approved by the NPFL. Owumi also expressed concerns over unauthorized ambush marketing by unaffiliated brands at match venues, which undermines the league's marketing efforts and sponsorship deals. He urged clubs to strictly adhere to marketing codes to protect the league's integrity and commercial value, while acknowledging their efforts to boost revenue. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has withdrawn its approval for the Baba Yara Stadium in Kumasi, Ghana, due to technical factors, including an unsuitable playing field. The decision was made after observations made by CAF during the recent Africa Cup of Nations qualifying match between Ghana and Angola, which was played at the Baba Yara Stadium on September 5th of 2024. Based on these observations, it was determined that the stadium did not meet the required standards for hosting Category 3 international matches. The CAF team identified several issues, including a playing field that was deemed unsuitable for competitive matches. The stadium's playing field had deteriorated significantly with uneven surfaces, poor drainage, and inadequate grass cover. And that's all at this time. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Federal High Court has granted End Bad Governance protesters bail. Gombe University lecturers have embarked on indefinite strike over unmet demands. And we also told you that airport workers in Kenya have downed tools over a new deal. Now remember, they can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV. We'll continue our live broadcast of the 9/11 memorial happening now in the United States. Stay here.